This episode is very special for me, and I hope that you are going to see how how emotional I might get because we are launching here a very special series, which is behind the scene series, and I want to explain to you what it means because it's part of my journey as an entrepreneur and also as the leader of the Born to Do business. I started that with my clients actually, where I said, you know what, enough of the what everybody sees. Let's go a little bit behind the behind the scene and show you and share with you, the people that are listening to this podcast and my clients. Um, how do I really feel inside behind what everybody sees? And it is a vulnerable moment because you're always afraid. What are people going to think when you show another side of you? But I feel like this is time. It's time for me to be true to who I am, and I feel like I'm coming out of the closet. I've had this experience a few years ago, actually, when I started looking for my purpose, and this is exactly what we're going to talk about today. So today, the title of this episode is "What does it mean to be purpose-driven entrepreneur? What is it really to be purpose-driven entrepreneur?" And I call this the good, the bad, and the ugly. And the reason for it is that I think that when we say purpose-driven, we hear very glamorous and it's nice to be purpose-driven. You want to do good and you want to help people. You want to contribute. You want to have an impact. You're looking for meaning. It sounds like really nice, but really, having been on that journey myself, and I still am, and having helped hundreds of entrepreneurs on that journey of purpose-driven entrepreneurship, I can tell you that it's not always easy. It's not always an easy journey, and because it is so emotional and because it is so taking us, from our inside, like touching our souls, I decided to do a little research around this and to look a little bit more inside this. What does it mean to be purpose driven? Why do we feel it so strong? And why do we have this need? It's more than a drive. It's a need that we have to help others. And I discovered things that are pretty vulnerable. Not only the good side of being purpose driven, and it made me ask myself a lot of questions. And that's what I want to share with you in this episode. And that's also what I'm going to share in a training that I'm giving next week. It's a free 3 days training, really to know how specific is it to be purpose driven, and how can you make the most out of it, to know what are the specific challenges and to understand how you can really make the most out of it. But first, let me start with my story around purpose. I actually became, if I could say, a purpose-driven entrepreneur. I didn't know that term back then. It was 6 years ago. And 6 years ago, I actually had what I call my purpose crisis. I was already an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur for 10 years. I had my business. I had a consulting firm. Everything was going well for me. I had clients. I was actually helping people from overseas that wanted to come live in Israel to build, to grow their business, or, companies that wanted to have market research or knowing how to move their companies from overseas to here. It all sounded like a great idea. I had consultants on my teams in different areas, and I was managing projects. And it all sounded really great on paper. It was really great, but something was missing. Something was missing, and it started to really bug me. It started to really, I started to be obsessed with what is missing. Why am I not happy with what I'm doing? I'm making money. I'm helping people bring their business to, their companies from overseas to Israel. There was even like an idealistic dimension to it, helping people come to Israel. But there was something about it that was missing. And I started going on a journey of introspection, starting reading books, listening to people. Actually, that's how I discovered Simon Sinek with his why, discover your big why. And I discovered many others talking about what is your purpose. And I realized that a lot of people say, yes, it's very important to do what you love and to work for your passion and to, to do the dream, right? But very few people were able to actually tell me how to define my purpose. And so I said, okay, I have to look for it by myself. And I started taking, exercises and books and courses from all over the place. And I created my own Born to Do discovery method. And I had groups of people taking it, and I had a course at the time, and I applied it to myself, obviously. And I realized that I didn't want to work with big corporate companies. I wanted to work with solopreneurs, and I wanted to work with people who wanted to change the world. And more specifically, I wanted to work with women. And more recently, this purpose even evolved where I really aligned with my purpose of not only helping purpose-driven entrepreneurs, and not only women, but also Jewish women. That's why I have the Jewish Women Entrepreneurs podcast. That's why we have the Global Online Business Network. And all this is really evolving into something that I really feel is making sense for me and is aligned with who I am. However, I have to say that this is the cover story, right? This is the official narrative. This is the pitch. This is what I say when people say, what is behind the Born to Do business? Because that's why the name of my business is the Born to Do business. And it's a true story. I mean, I'm not lying or making anything up, but I'm not saying the whole truth. And this is where I want to be truly honest with you and truly vulnerable. The whole truth is that being purpose-driven comes from a lot of ups and downs, emotional ups and downs, that can go really, really high and can go really, really low. Now, for those of you who are in the mental health field, you know that, this is probably not a very good sign, of mental health, balanced health, right? Because when you're an entrepreneur, of course, you're going to have ups and downs. Of course, you're going to be happy when you have clients, when you're successful, and you're not going to be disappointed when something doesn't work out. But it doesn't go so deep. And that's what I want to talk about today. And that's why I decided to look into that further and deeper to see, like, how come it's something that I see with myself and with my clients. I have to say my clients are with me, and that's where I feel like we're not alone. And if you recognize yourself in what I'm saying, then you're not alone. Because when I say lows, I mean lows. I mean like existential lows, not just the business is not working, or not just I don't have enough clients, or I don't know how to do marketing. It's almost as if it doesn't make any sense to be in this world or, in this life if I cannot, take this business where I want to take it. That is as far as it can go. And so I'm not going to use words like depression or anxiety because I'm not a mental health professional and I wouldn't know how to really give a diagnosis. But I do know that there is something disproportionate. That I know. That I can feel that there is a discrepancy between, what's happening in the business, which can be something that is not pleasant and that we have to deal with, or in this feeling of, like the rug is removed from under your feet. That, is something where you feel like, why am I here? What's the purpose of me being here if I cannot, do what I'm born to do, if I cannot be successful with my business? Now, it doesn't only, it's not only like an existential question. It's also a question that goes back to, I think, the inner child. Now, again, I said I'm not a therapist, I'm not a mental health professional, but I have done work on myself, and I have been, and I am going to, to therapists, and I did go through therapy, and for me, the work on the inner child was priceless. It was so important to understand what I've gone through in my childhood and how this inner child is still with me, and how sometimes my reactions are not the reaction of this, leader of a business, of this woman, of 50-year-old. Yeah, this year I'm turning 50, the big 50. But it's the reaction of that inner child that is, waiting to receive everything that she hasn't received in her childhood. Now, I'm not here to talk about my inner child story, but when I made the connection between that disproportionate suffering, or that disproportionate down, or that existential loss when things didn't work out in my business, and this inner child that was still, or is still I should say, looking for recognition, looking for love, looking for people to tell her, yes, you're enough, right? Well, this was exactly it. It was connecting to my worth. It was connecting not to who I was as a business person, but who I was as a person, period. And so, yes, it meant that somewhere I was not enough without my business. Now, this is something, again, that's very vulnerable for me to speak about, and that is not sure if it resonates with you, but it's personal, but it's universal at the same time. You know what I mean? It's personal because yes, I'm talking about my inner child, and I am talking about my need to be recognized and to be loved and to be seen. But I know it's universal because so many of us are like this, and so many of us are taking our drive, our business drive, from that need to be seen. And that's what is making it so more complex to be purpose driven than just having a business, having services and products and selling them. Yes, it works. No, it doesn't work. Let's change the strategy. Let's change the marketing. Let's change the ideal client. Of course, we need all that. But behind this, it makes it so there is a tension, right? There is something that is so important. So there is a dimension that this business is bigger than ourselves, right? This business or this project or what we want to do in the world is bigger than ourselves. And so if we are not successful at this, then maybe we have failed much more than our business. That is how I feel, and that's why I felt that I needed to go look further into that purpose-driven dimension of entrepreneurship. Now, when I did look and I did my research, it was partly an introspection research and partly also listening to what other people were saying about purpose-driven entrepreneurship, because obviously I'm not the first one talking about this. And I realized that there were basically 6 dimensions to being purpose driven. And I want to share those with you because those 6 dimensions I feel like are bringing a different light into the purpose driven entrepreneurship. And you might recognize yourself in some of them, maybe not all of them. Maybe some of them will be obvious to you, some of them will be new. But I feel like for me, at least, it's helpful to put this in a structured framework that being purpose driven is basically a transversal theme that can be seen and can be observed from different layers. And so those 6 layers can explain more why things work, why things don't work, why some resistance are stronger than others. And they can also, and my goal here is to give you also the solutions for each of those dimensions. Like how can you, the tips on how to use your purpose-driven business or purpose-driven dimension to serve you and not just to be something that is so tense and so powerful and sometimes very heavy to carry. So let me start with the first dimension, and I'll start with the most obvious, at least for me, and then we'll go to the deeper ones that maybe fewer people talk about. So the first dimension is the dimension of business, right? We're talking about purpose-driven entrepreneurs, and so what I see in terms of how it translates in a business is that very often purpose-driven entrepreneurs want to help everyone. They have the multi-passions, multi-gifted, and one of their challenges is how am I going to, choose only one passion, or do I have to choose one passion, or I don't want to choose one passion. I want to help as many people as possible. And so the quantity aspect is very, very crucial. It's not just because I want to make a lot of money, and we'll talk about how it's not how I want to make a lot of money, which can also be a challenge. But it's more like I need to see that the impact is a really an impact on a lot of people, not just 5, 10. I want hundreds, if not thousands, if not millions of people to feel like my purpose has been success, like I have succeeded in my mission, right? And that is great in terms of reaching a lot of numbers of people. But the problem is that in the beginning, you don't have access to those millions or thousands or even sometimes hundreds of people. And so you do need to start with a group of people that are going to listen to you, because you can definitely help them specifically, which is, if I would translate that in business terms, is finding your niche. And so the first challenge that I find that purpose-driven entrepreneurs have in the layer or in the dimension of business is this finding your niche piece. It's something that I've heard people losing sleep over. It's something that people come over again and again, even people that already have $1 million businesses, even people that have been successful with a certain business. They always come back with that question: what is my niche? Who do I want to help? Who do I really want to help? Who can I really help? What is my specific niche? How can I identify the people that I could really help? Now, it sounds like a business question, but really when you read it through, with the glasses of purpose driven, you realize that it's a very existential question. And that's why it could be a very painful question. Like, if I don't have my purpose, I don't know. If I don't know what my purpose is, I won't know who I'm helping, and then I won't know what is my niche, and then I won't help the people, and then I'm not going to, realize my mission on earth, and then, existential question, right? And that's how I came to understand that the niche question was not just a strategy question or just makes more sense business-wise, but it was existential for purpose-driven entrepreneurs. Now, I'm already going to give you, my answer as we go through the layers, because I don't want to leave you hanging with, okay, that's a big challenge purpose-driven entrepreneurs have. How do we solve this? I want to give you my, my insight on this and how I solved it, and maybe that could be inspiring to you. I know that when I ask myself, what is my purpose, big question, or, what is my niche, big question, that was a very hard question and difficult question for me to answer because it was too big, right? It was like, I don't know, my whole life. What is my whole life purpose? But when I took it very like, what was next to me? What was the next step of my purpose? What are the people the closest to me that I want to help? That made sense. That was easiest for me to do. And so instead of breaking my head over my big purpose, over my, my born to do with, that's never going to change, that my one purpose that if I miss, I probably miss my whole life, that was too big, too overwhelming. And so I went with the next purpose and the next purpose and the next people that I wanted to help and the next people. And I actually saw that it was really bringing me, and it is still bringing me to the right place, just one step at a time. So my advice to you in this podcast, if we're talking about the niche and the purpose aligned with your business, what I call your born to do business, is not to answer the big questions and not to go with your head or with your rational brain, but more to go with your intuition and to just do the next best decision in terms of, okay, this I can do. Okay, those people I know I can serve. I want to serve. Okay, this part of the purpose I know I can do. And just do it one step at a time until you'll see that, it's just like bringing one piece of the puzzle every time. And then at some point, you're going to look back and say, oh, okay, now I see where this is going. So it's a much more intuitive process than we think. The second layer, the second aspect of the purpose-driven entrepreneur dimension that I've observed on myself and on the people that I'm working with is the connection and the relationship with money. Obviously, when you're an entrepreneur, you're not a nonprofit, and even when you're a nonprofit, you also need to make money. So that's not the goal, the question. But being a purpose-driven entrepreneur is not just having a nice idea that you want to share with the world. It's also making money with it. And that is a concept that most purpose-driven entrepreneurs have a hard time with because they want to help, they want to contribute. I should say we. We want to help, we want to contribute, we want to have an impact, but we need to shift a lot of mindset and to understand a lot of how the business aspect is working to be able to make actually the money and to be able to translate our passion into profit. Now, this is where I find that this is the, like, I said, the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's not the ugly, but it's kind of the bad of the purpose-driven entrepreneur, because it's like jumping ahead saying, I'm not going to know even how I pay my bills, but I'm going to, do things that are going to have an impact on the world. And that I find is really upside down. It's not healthy again, right? That's the not healthy part of the purpose-driven, right? Because you're not going to be able to help anyone if you cannot help yourself first, and not even help in terms of survive, but you're not, if you don't have the lifestyle that you want, if you cannot reach your dream, then you won't be able to help anyone else and have no impact on anyone, and your purpose is not going to be reached. So I find that the second aspect is a little bit upside down, because we want to help other people before we help ourselves. And I had to do some work around that. And I find that this is the first work that I have to do with other purpose-driven entrepreneurs, which is switching the priorities and saying, you know what, how about you have an impact on your life? How about you have an impact on your bank account? How about you have an impact on your kids, on your family, on your loved ones, before you change the world? How about that, right? That makes sense when I say it like that, but you would be surprised at how many entrepreneurs cannot cannot even pay the bills and are still talking about how can I change the world. And so I find that this is something that needs to be shifted, and that's what I do with my clients. That's what I did on myself, and that's for the second part of the second dimension of the purpose-driven. The third dimension of the purpose-driven entrepreneur, I've touched a little bit when I spoke about my story, is the emotional dimension, right? We want to save the world, we want to do good, but really, really behind it, I mean, again, that's the story, but behind it, we're looking for recognition. We're looking for love. We're looking for, to be reassured that that we're worth, that we're worth it, that our worth is something. And sometimes it shows a little bit of lack of self-worth, and we hide right behind that purpose-driven message where we want to save the world, but really we want to be seen as someone and recognized as someone of value. There's nothing wrong with that, right? We all need to be recognized and all need to be seen. But I find that this is where the roller coaster, right, of the purpose-driven, I find that this is where we go really, really high and really, really low. And as purpose-driven entrepreneur, we have to learn how to find our own worth disconnected from our business. And we have to really work on, do internal work, so that we know what we're worth, and we're not dependent on our results from the business to be able to say, yes, I'm worth something if I realize my purpose. If I don't realize my purpose, I'm not worth anything. Right? There shouldn't be anything in our life that our worth is dependent on. Right? Our worth, who we are, is not dependent on if we realize our purpose or not. Yes, it is nice to have that level of fulfillment, but it doesn't mean that we're not good if we don't do it, or that we're great if we do it, right? That we shouldn't be dependent on that. And I find that a lot of purpose-driven entrepreneurs, if they don't do this internal work of separating their worth from their business, then being successful in their business is like a survival. It's like their only way to be worth something. And I know I had to do work on this. I'm still doing it. And this is what I'm inviting you, if this is resonating with you, to say, you know what, let me find a way to own my worth, even if it's not connected to my business, and even if I'm not successful at this purpose, right? Now, the psychological, which is the fourth layer and the fourth dimension, the psychological aspect of the purpose-driven entrepreneur is, like I said, the ups and downs, right? So if you have people living with you, whether it's your life partner, your husband, your wife, your kids, your friends, and you feel like they don't know how, they have no idea how you work, like what's going on, why one day you're on top of the mountain and the other day you can get out of bed. And that is something that is very difficult to explain because it's like we said in the beginning, disproportionate with your business. What I found works with that, and this is what I teach in my programs to my clients, and this is what really, really helps me to stay grounded and to remember that my business is not everything. And I know that we say, I am my business is me, but I'm also more than that, right? And so my work on my routines and on my high performance habits, right? On morning routines, evening routines, knowing, take self-care, taking care of myself, listening to inspiring podcasts, books, eating well, sleeping well. I know that it sounds basic, but for purpose-driven entrepreneur, it's part of the survival kit. It's not something that you can afford not to have. Of course, everyone should have self-care and routines. It's the best, right? And eat well and sleep well. But for a purpose-driven entrepreneur, it's part of what they must do. It's not a choice. It's not an option. It's not, yes, when I have time, I'll exercise. It's something that you have to really build in your schedule and your routine and be very, very disciplined with it, because it doesn't work if not. If you don't take care of yourself, then your purpose is going to eat you alive. And you won't be successful in your mission, and you won't be successful in your business, and you won't be successful as a person. And that is something that, that's why routines and high performance habits are here. Now, the fifth dimension of being a purpose-driven entrepreneur is my favorite, actually. This one and the last one, I'll tell you the last one as well, is the spiritual dimension, right? So being purpose-driven also means that you believe that people have a purpose. I personally believe that every person on earth has a purpose. And I also believe that this purpose was given to the soul before we even came down on earth. Now, I know if you're not spiritual, or this sounds too woo-woo for you, and you're like, what? She's a business coach. What is she talking about? Spiritual? Well, this is also why I'm purpose-driven, right? It's because I believe in this. I believe that the reason why I called my business The Point to Do Business is because I really believe that every person has a purpose that they can express through a business, a venture, a project. It doesn't have to be through a business. I know I love business, but it could be through a different way. And having that purpose given to you. So there is a myth that says, and it's a story you've probably heard. And since we're on the Jewish Women Entrepreneur podcast, if you in the Bible, I mean, not even in the Bible, but a story like our sages share stories that when before we even came out of our mother's womb, we had an angel that came and put our finger, on top of our mouth, which is why we have that little sign here. In the Jewish culture, the story says that the baby before it's born knows the whole Bible, the whole Torah by heart, and then it's put the finger. The angel puts the finger on the mouth, and then we forget everything. But there is another version that I heard of this myth, which is that this angel, or it's even a goddess, I think in this version, that gives the soul before it goes down on earth its purpose. That tells the soul what is going to be their purpose or its purpose. But then it puts the finger on the mouth, and the soul forgets about the purpose, and then the whole journey is on earth. This life on earth is to discover what this purpose is. Now, when you believe in that, it changes the whole perspective of this finding your purpose, right? It's not an anxiety anymore. It's more a process. It's a journey. It's not I have to find my purpose, or I have to find my born to do, or I'm not going to know where to go if I don't have my born to do, which is mostly the ego, right? Our mind that is saying that to us. But we're just going to say, okay, this is part of my life's journey. This is why I'm here. I'm here to discover what my purpose is. So my purpose is not static. It's dynamic. right? It's evolving, like in a spiral. I very often speak about the spiral where we always go through this around the same purpose, but at a different level. And so once you believe in that, there's no rush. There's no anxiety. There is no winning or losing. There is no, I'm going to be successful. I'm not going to be successful. How many people am I going to help? Is my business successful? Am I selling enough? Do I have enough clients? Am I fulfilling my mission? There's no anxiety around this because I'm always on my purpose. I'm on the journey. And so I find that this spiritual dimension for purpose-driven entrepreneurs, if they are able to reach that dimension, then it really relaxes the potential anxiety, and it makes it much more achievable and much more doable in a peaceful way. Because it's not about what you do. Let's say you do realize your mission, but if you do it, with the white knuckles, it's how you do it, right? If you get there, peaceful, aligned. It resonates with you. You're okay. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. No, like, oh, how come I'm not there yet? Or how come I didn't fulfill this? And look at this person is having an impact on thousands and I only have impact on hundreds. This is our mind talking. This is our ego talking, right? The purpose is something that's much more natural, that's much more happening in an organic way, right? And so I find that the spiritual dimension helps us see this purpose from a more holistic point of view and not from a very strategic, like, this is what I need to do. Now, I've had to work on this, right? Because I have this control. I need to know. I need to find out what is my purpose. I need to draw a strategy, step by step. I have that. So I had to work on, the letting go, the surrender, this is where I am. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. My purpose is happening while I'm on my journey. And I find that this has been very helpful for me. I hope that it will be helpful for you too. The last aspect of this purpose-driven entrepreneur is what is known under the law of attraction. Now, this is even more woo-woo than the spiritual aspect. So I hope that if you're not woo-woo or spiritual, you'll still hear me out. Because the law of attraction is something that I really believe in. And in very short, in a nutshell, I mean, again, we could do a whole podcast on the law of attraction, but the law of attraction says that whatever vibration you're on, you're going to attract. So if you're on a high vibration, a positive vibration, you're going to attract positive energies or positive people or opportunities. And if you're on a lower vibration, you are going to attract just that, right? Negative energy, negative people, negative opportunities. And so when we're purpose driven, but we do it with the white knuckle, with the, oh my God, I have anxiety. I don't know if I'm going to reach my purpose. I don't know if I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do. And it becomes an emotional and psychological, challenge. Then we are at a low vibration. We are at a vibration that is going to attract just that. It's going to attract that people are going to see in you the anxiety. They're going to see in you the fact that you are too attached to the outcome, right? And so even if you are successful in what you do, the how you do is going to again attract the same level of vibration. And so again, the work that we have to do as purpose-driven entrepreneurs is to raise our vibration, to be connected to that higher level of the purpose of, this is not just me reaching a goal or reaching a purpose or fulfilling my mission. This is also me doing it in a way that is going to be peaceful, that is going to be happy, positive, and I'm going to reach it while I'm on my journey, not being afraid or having anxiety or not knowing, needing to control the outcome. Now, it's going to be a vicious cycle either way, right? Because the law of attraction says that if you are in the positive vibration, you will attract. And so you will attract your purpose, and your intuition is going to be in the right place, and alignment is going to come, and the right people, the right opportunities, the right ideas, the right books to read, the right podcasts to listen to, the right concepts. Things are going to be clear and are going to be opened up, and you're going to be able to really, advance and take your step by step on your purpose. But if you are so tense about, oh my God, if my business is not successful, it means I'm not realizing my purpose. It means that I don't know what I'm doing here. And there is an anxiety and there is an emotional anxiety. Then this is what you will bring also. You will attract the people that are also at the same level of vibration that you're on. And so all this to tell you, my friends, that being purpose driven is not just a label. It's not just a box, and it's not just a sticker that you put on, on your pitch and you say, I'm purpose driven, I'm amazing, look at me. Being purpose driven needs work. Work on different levels. We spoke about the business level, we spoke about the money level, we spoke about the emotional level, the psychological level, we spoke about the spiritual level, and the law of attraction level. Now, I know I've given you a lot of content here, and I hope that if you want, you can re-listen to this podcast, maybe take notes and see what resonates with you, because when you're going to see that which challenge is bigger for you, then you'll know what you need to do in order to counterbalance that. Because at the end of the day, being purpose driven is beautiful. And I'm doing what I'm doing because I really hope that everyone is going to be able to reach their purpose. And I really, really believe that the more people will reach their purpose, the more the world is going to be a better place. And I'm not saying this lightly. I'm not just saying this because it sounds good. I really believe that this is what we have to do. We have one job to do, which is not a specific job. It's a longer job. It's a journey job, right? And the more people are going to be able to do their job along the way, the more everyone is going to live in a more harmonious and aligned way. So this is important, my friends. This is not just about business or about strategy or marketing or clients or selling. It's really about alignment, about being who we want to be and becoming that person, not really, reaching a point, but always evolving to becoming that person and bringing our gifts to the world. And the reason why I'm doing this podcast and I did that research, and I'm offering this 3 days training next week around purpose-driven entrepreneurs, is because I believe that purpose-driven entrepreneurs they're much more complex. We are much more complex than we seem. And there are so many different aspects that we need to grasp and that we need to know how to work with so that we can really take the best out of it. Because it is a good thing at the end of the day, but we might lose perspective of what is the best inside of us, right? We have it inside of us. It is in our inner being. It is who we are inside. But if we are tense and if we are, we put too much emotion and too much expectation and too much tension around this, then it's just like giving birth, right? It's for those of you who are moms and who gave birth. I know I gave birth a long time ago, but I know that one thing I remember was that the more tense I was, the more my contractions were painful, and the more I let go and I was able to breathe and to surrender to what was happening, the less the contractions were hurting. And I think that this is a perfect example for our purpose. It's really about surrendering and letting go and being aligned with it without being nervous around it. So I can talk for hours around this. And that's why I'm doing this training next week. If this is resonating with you, if you feel like this could help you be an even better purpose-driven entrepreneur, then join me next week. I'll put the link. It's totally free. I want everyone who feels purpose-driven, who feels called, and with whom it resonates to join me in that training, because the more we'll be aware of what it means to be purpose-driven, the more we'll be able to be the best at what we do and do it in a very relaxed and a very peaceful way. So thank you, my friends. Thank you for listening to the podcast. Thank you for being here. I know that I'm getting a lot of positive feedback on the podcast, and it always warms my heart. And let me know what you think about all this. Give me your feedback wherever you heard this episode. And I can't wait to see you next week in the 3 days training for purpose-driven entrepreneurs. And I can't wait for our next behind-the-scene episode. But until then, I wish you a great day and wherever you are in the world. And I will see you very soon. Bye for now.